you. Good morning. We're going to get started now. The members will take their seats and the visitors retire behind the rail. We can get this show on the road. We have a long day. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes the Reverend Gregory Ross of Thankful Baptist Church. He is here today as the guest of Councilman Green. I would ask all guests, visitors, and members to please rise. Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor, for those inspiring words. Council, will it is. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to just quickly take this opportunity to acknowledge Mr. Brad Eel. He is the handsome gentleman with the turquoise jacket who houses the AARP resource table during our budget briefings and town hall meetings. He's here with Mr. Dennis Jackson, and both of them are court-appointed special advocates advocating on behalf of abused or neglected children, and we wanted to welcome them here to council. Will you please stand? Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a wonderful, important tradition here in City Council where we try to lift up young people who are going to be sitting where we are sitting and attend to those things we thought were important. I have been so pleased to have superstar interns in my office 365 days a year, and I did not want today to end without saluting the interns in my office, and we want to ask them to stand. Alex, Joey, Espeth, forgive me, Jay, and Tyler, superstars that are going to sit where we are sitting and attend to those things we thought were important. Let's salute these superstar interns.
Thank you, superstars. Thank you for your service. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. As long as we're talking about interns, I think this is a proper time to, I had a young woman in my office for, unfortunately, just a short time. She's entering her sophomore year at the University of Michigan. Also happens to live in that great neighborhood of Fairmount. I don't know how Fairmounters tend to come to my office,
Great
but it just seems
neighborhood.
to happen that way.
In a great
But
council district.
I think she is also someone that we'll be hearing a lot from in the future. So I just wanted to recognize Martha Abrams, who, again, we're spending our last day with us today.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for your service. Thank you very much, Councilman. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, June 15, 2017. And the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, June 15, 2017 be approved.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, June 15, 2017 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the minority, there's no request for leaves of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to welcome and thank everyone who has come down to our council today to witness the government in action. We hope your stay here today is a knowledgeable one. We actually also hope that it's a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. This time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker, who will present a resolution recognizing Cheryl Lee. With Ms. Lee and those accompanying her, please join the councilwoman at the podium. And joining Councilwoman Parker, we have Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Heenan, Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Taubenberger, Councilman Dom, Councilman Johnson, and Councilman Jones. You said Councilman, pretty much everybody, huh?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
President, if we were to talk with leaders from the corporate community and business, government, the nonprofit industry, these leaders would tell you that one of the most critical decisions that they make during their tenure of leadership is who they tapped to run and manage the administrative functions in their office. Aside from having the competency to handle those administrative matters, the person needs to be trustworthy, know how to compartmentalize, have the ability to handle sensitive situations, and oftentimes know how to stop ticking bombs from exploding. And so with that being said, Mr. President, I am proud to join with you, along with Council Members Blackwell and Johnson and all of our colleagues, in presenting a resolution recognizing and honoring Cheryl Lee on the occasion of her retirement from Laborers Local 332.
Whereas Cheryl Lee was born in Darby Township, Pennsylvania, and was educated in and graduated from the Southeast Delco School District. She furthered her education at the Keystone School of Business and graduated with an associate's degree in executive secretarial studies in 1981. And
whereas Cheryl began her career in 1982 as an operations manager for Shearson Lehman American Express in the Municipal Bonds Department. In July 1984, she began working for Samuel Staton Sr. as his secretary and was promoted to the position of executive assistant and office manager. And
whereas Cheryl was the executive assistant to the business manager of Laborers Local 332, Samuel Staton Jr., and the executive assistant to retired business manager Samuel Staton Sr. She was also the coordinator for Local 332's annual Friends of Labor and Wind Beneath Our Wings banquets. And
whereas Cheryl's ability to communicate with Local 332 members, officers, staff, politicians, celebrities, lawyers, CEOs, and others is one of her greatest attributes. And
A couple of things I didn't know about Cheryl Lee. One, I always knew that she was the gatekeeper of making things happen over there at 332 for many years, but she has had a passion for writing and is a published poet. In her professional role, she was able to use her artistic and creative skills and was instrumental in researching historic information on Local 332 to be used in its documentary.
And whereas in 2009, Cheryl had the gracious audacity, those are my words, to run for Borough Council in Sharon Hill, Pennsylvania. The campaign experience was one of the most triumphant experiences of her life. It allowed her the opportunity to share with voters the type of public service and community engagement they should automatically receive from devoted elected officials.
And whereas Cheryl considers her work with Samuel Staton Sr., Samuel Staton Jr., Tony Lewis, and Laborers Local 332 to be the best education that money couldn't buy, but should cost a fortune. And
whereas Cheryl is proud that Local 332 not only helps its members by providing good paying jobs with an excellent benefit package, but also does important work within the community by providing much needed scholarships, pro bono labor support, and monetary donations for families in crisis. And
whereas Cheryl is a genuine family woman, proud parent of two successful daughters, Talisha and Ashley, and one granddaughter, Phoenix Rain. Now therefore be it.
Resolved by the Council of the City of Philadelphia that it hereby recognizes and honors Cheryl Lee on the occasion of her retirement from Laborers Local 332. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Cheryl Lee as evidence of the sincere sentiments of this legislative body. And I do just want to note for the record that our mighty lion of labor, the late great Mr. Samuel Staton Sr., along with Tony Lewis, and then generationally with Sam Staton Jr., Cheryl has been the glue that has held it all together, and we get an opportunity today to say thank you because you made it happen for many of us who sit in this room. Before we got some things that we needed, we had to talk to you in order to get it done, and today we get a chance to say thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Ms. Lee for remarks.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am just overwhelmed. I have to thank Councilwoman Parker and the entire City Council for bestowing me with this honor today. As they were talking, I was saying, who are they talking about? But it's me. I just want to thank my daughter and my fellow co-workers and all my members. Isn't this beautiful, for coming out to see me today. And once again, I just say thank you. And for those of you who have my cell phone number, I'm always just a phone call away. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Be at ease. Thank you. Thank you very much. The next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, would you please read those messages?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, pursuant to Sections 4604 and 2307 of the Harmore Charter, I am today transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bills. Bill numbers 170463, 170465, 170469, 170476, 170495, 170496, 170498, 170500, 170501, 170502, 170503, 170504, 170511, 170516, 170553, 170557, 170558, and 170559. And I am pleased to advise you that on June 21, 2017, I signed the following bills which were passed by council at its session on June 15, 2017. Bill numbers 170195, 170196A, 170197, 170366, 170401, 170432, 170433, 170434, 170435, 170438, 170472, 170473, 170475, 170514, 170515, 170555, and 170565. And I am transmitting for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 522 through 526 Cantrell Street. And an ordinance amending Section 10825 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Stun Guns by further providing for the regulation of stun guns, also known as electric or electronic incapacitation devices. And an ordinance authorizing the Parks and Recreation Commissioner on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into an agreement for the use of Cobb's Creek Golf Club, Karakung Golf Club, and the City Line Sports Center, under which the operator will restore, maintain, and operate those facilities as a single, first-class public golf course, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you so much. Our next order of business is introduction and bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you and good morning again. I'm pleased to introduce one non-privileged and two privileged resolutions, and I want to say thank you to members Green, Parker, Gim, Bass, Blackwell, Taltonberger, and Squillo for co-sponsoring.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
So they could be heard on the back end of this morning. Thank
Sure,
you.
certainly, Councilwoman.
A privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Amalgam Comics and Coffee House and its founder, Ariel Johnson, for receiving the 2017 Night Cities Challenge Award.
That will be on this week's calendar.
And a privileged resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Education to hold hearings on early child care providers and best practices issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services.
And that will be on this week's final passes calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the United States Congress to pass H.R. 2655 titled Small Business Innovation Protection Act of 2017.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman, not on this one, the next one?
On the
The last one?
yes.
Okay, thank you. That will be on next session's final passes calendar. Mr. Decker, go ahead. It's three or four? It's just three? All right, thank you. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce two bills and one non-privileged resolution that I wish to be recognized for after the title of the resolution is read, for a motion on the resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance revising parking regulations on Chester Avenue, both sides, 55th Street to 56th Street.
Refer to the appropriate committee.
And an ordinance establishing an amended parking regulation on 48th Street, both sides, Spruce Street to Pine Street.
Refer to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution calling upon the Congress of the United States to direct Amtrak to comply with H.R. 4838 and immediately rename 30th Street Station as William H. Gray III 30th Street Station.
That one, Councilman.
Thank
This
you.
one, Chair recognizes Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr.
Blackwell.
President. I would like to note that all members of council have signed this. It was signed by President Obama, and I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit consideration of this resolution on today's final
Consideration
passage.
today.
Thank you.
Is there a second? Been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended to allow consideration of this resolution today. All in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it, and that will be on today's final passes calendar.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Gregory.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer two bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code by explicitly prohibiting overtime parking in permit parking districts and establishing new penalties for such violations.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by amending parking requirements in certain districts.
Refer to committee. And the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. The chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 5 bills, one co-sponsored by Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance authorizing the Parks and Recreation Commission on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into an agreement for the use of Cobb's Creek Golf Club, Caricon Golf Club, and the City Line Sports Center, under which the operator will restore, maintain, and operate those facilities as a single first-class public golf course. And an ordinance amending Section 10825 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Stun Guns by further providing for the regulation of stun guns, also known as electric or electronic incapacitation devices. And an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Woodbine Avenue, Upland Way, 59th Street, Lancaster Avenue, and 62nd Street, and an ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on North 26th Street from Allegheny Avenue to Clearfield Street, and an ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on North 28th Street from Allegheny Avenue to Clearfield Street.
Thank you. Those 5 bills just read by the chief clerk will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones. Chair recognizes. You got it.
Signing everybody else's, I ain't signing my own.
There you go. Understandable.
Council President, I have
oversight.
3 privileged resolutions and 3 non-privileged resolutions and 2 privileged resolutions. And Council President, after the title of each non-privileged resolution that has been read, I would like to be recognized for a motion, please.
Thank you, Councilman.
You're welcome, Council President.
A privilege resolution honoring the philanthropy of Julius Dr. J. Irving and recognizing his outstanding accomplishments as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers.
This week's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Music Alliance for its promotion of the city's unique and outstanding musical legacy and declaring the Walk of Fame a Philadelphia landmark.
And this week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution calling on Prime Flight Aviation Services and Prospect Airport Services to negotiate in good faith to form a collective bargaining agreement with their Philadelphia employees as represented by Service Employees International Union Local 32BJ.
And the chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit second reading and final passage of the resolution during this council session. Printed copies of these resolutions have been distributed to all members of council.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. That non-privileged resolution has had the rule suspended and will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania State Legislature to pass pending legislation to ensure adequate funding for the Department of Agriculture's Bureau of Dog Law Enforcement, which helps to protect the health and well-being of dogs that are bred and sold in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit second reading and final passage of the resolution during this council session. Printed copies of this resolution has been distributed to all members of council.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. And that resolution will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming South Broad Street between Federal Street and Wharton Street, Anna Sabati Verna Way, in honor of Council President Anna C. Verna's lifetime of service to the city of Philadelphia.
It's going to be a tough one, Councilman. I don't know. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit second reading and final passage of the resolution during this council session. Printed copies of this resolution have been distributed to all members of council.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution will be on this week's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Cherelle Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one privileged resolution, and I proudly present one bill co-sponsored by you, Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, and Janie from Cheney Blackwell.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Title VII of the Philadelphia Code entitled Housing Code by adding a new chapter 7200 entitled Mixed Income Housing Program to provide for affordable housing standards, amending Section 14702 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Mixed Income Housing to make related changes, amending Chapters 14600 and 14700 of the Philadelphia Code entitled respectively Use Regulations and Development Standards to amend certain zoning standards relating to residential development.
Referred to committee.
And a privilege resolution recognizing, congratulating, and honoring the Frankfurt High School Pioneers baseball team on winning the 2017 Philadelphia City Championship and the 2017 Public League Championship.
And that will be on this week's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Today I introduce 4 bills, 2 privileged resolutions, and 1 non-privileged resolution. I would like the opportunity to speak on the legislation being introduced today.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm sorry. Mr. Decker.
An ordinance authorizing the transfer and appropriation for fiscal year 2017 within the general fund from the Department of Finance to support a capital consortium in the Commerce Department, and an ordinance amending Title 20 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Officers and Employees to add a chapter establishing a system for public financing of political campaigns, and an ordinance amending Chapter 21,000 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Political Contributions and Expenditures to add and make changes to provisions regarding campaign contributions to transition and inauguration committees, and campaign finance disclosures, and an ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia of a proposal set forth in a resolution approved by council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter, providing for the public matching funding for campaigns for city office, and authorizing the appropriate officers to publish notice and make arrangements for the special election.
Thank you. Councilman, you want to speak after the bills? You want to speak now?
Speak now. Thank you, Council President. Today, I introduced a package of bills and a resolution bringing public funds and campaigns to the City of Philadelphia. Although I introduced this bill, this is a collaborative effort. I want to thank Council Majority Leader Bobby Heenan, as well as my colleague, Councilwoman Maria Aquino Sanchez, for their leadership. We worked on this legislation along with our staffs over a number of weeks. Today begins the conversation regarding public finance and campaigns in the City of Philadelphia. A number of council members have already been briefed. We've already briefed the mayor regarding this legislation, but this is just the first step of an ongoing conversation regarding this topic. I look forward to working and talking with council members over the summer and into the fall as we look at this legislation. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Those 4 bills will be referred to the appropriate committees.
And a privilege resolution recognizing June 23, 2017 as Olympic Day in the City of Philadelphia.
This week's calendar.
And a privilege resolution supporting the Trust for Public Lands 10-minute walk to a park campaign.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter regarding appropriations and expenditures for and implementation of public financing of political campaigns pursuant to a system as may be established by council by ordinance.
And that will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer one non-privileged resolution that is co-sponsored by council members Heenan, Johnson, Jones, and Squilla, and wish to be recognized after the title is read for a motion on the resolution. And I promise my colleagues that when we come back, I will not be stretching what I'm reading out 25 feet from my eyes. We're going to take care of that this summer.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A non-privileged resolution commending the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia's Research Department for its important analysis of the effects of the Community Reinvestment Act on the mortgage market in the aftermath of the Great Recession, and urging the city's Department of Planning and Development to identify potential solutions to recent federal policy changes that have resulted in more Philadelphia neighborhoods becoming CRA ineligible, leading to CRA-regulated lenders decreasing their mortgage lending in these neighborhoods.
And that will be on our next session of council's calendar. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. I'm sorry, Councilwoman, I didn't know we were suspending the rules on that. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move at this time to suspend the rules of council so as to permit consideration of this resolution on today's final passage calendar.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution will be on today's final passage calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the leeway granted here. You all noticed that when we were presenting the resolution to Ms. Cheryl Lee, that Samuel Staton Sr. was not present. He was in crisis mode getting here from the international airport, and he rushed, and we just wanted to acknowledge his presence here today because we don't have a Cheryl Lee were it not for Mr. Samuel Staton Sr. and Samuel Staton Sr. So thank you, Sam, for being here.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for all your great work. We really appreciate what you've done for our city. And the chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Gill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Today I offer one privileged resolution and one non-privileged resolution, and I wish to be recognized after the title of the resolution on the Senate health care bill is read for a motion on the resolution, please.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing the substantial contributions of Amy Laura Kahn and the Garden Justice Legal Initiative she founded to the City of Philadelphia, as well as her dedication to the empowerment of communities through community control of land, sustainable and equitable urban gardening and farming, and the pursuit of environmental justice.
And that resolution will be on this week's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution expressing sincere gratitude to the United States senators who are standing in opposition to legislation that would strip health care from millions of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians, and calling upon these senators to use every means at their disposal to prevent its passage, including withholding consent for any waiver of rules and using the process of filibuster by amendment.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gill.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit consideration of this resolution on today's final passage calendar.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution will be on today's final passage calendar based on the suspension of the rules. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Morning, Council President and colleagues. I offer 4 privileged resolutions, and I am honored to say that they are co-sponsored by all members of council, including yourself. And I would like to speak on the final resolution honoring Captain Maximilian Clark for a brief moment.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing June as Immigrant Heritage Month in the City of Philadelphia.
That will be on today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring and recognizing Mr. Jim Gardner for his hard work and dedication serving the people of Philadelphia over the past 41 years as a reporter and news anchor.
That will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Aging to hold hearings regarding the benefits of both companion animals for the elderly, along with the Pennsylvania Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, 150 years of service towards creating a positive atmosphere for companion animals and the elderly.
And that will be on today's final passage calendar.
And a privileged resolution honoring and recognizing Captain Maximilian Clark for his continued service in the United States for over 20 years and his appointment as the commanding officer of the USS Mesa Verde.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Council President, thank you very, very much. I just want to mention the support that I've gotten from my colleagues here on council for each one of these privilege resolutions, but most importantly, in my time here, I vote and support many resolutions for great causes. But to actually put in a resolution for an immediate neighbor of mine who I watched grow up as a young man, I literally saw him take his first steps, lived in our neighborhood all his life, and for now being named captain and the commanding officer of the USS Mesa Verde, a ship that handles 300 naval crew and 600 Marine personnel, is something very proud to see as a neighbor and a friend of the family. And thank you for your special consideration in saying these words.
Thank you, Councilman. That will be on today's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Councilman Squilla, I offer 2 non-privileged resolutions and 1 bill.
All right. Always on time, Councilman. Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance continuing the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area generally bounded by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, the property line of 3300 Agate Street, and the back of properties facing west along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland and Ontario Streets, the south side of Ontario Street, the west side of Tulip Street between Ontario and Tioga Streets, the north side of Tioga Street, the back of properties facing west on the east side of Tulip Street beyond Tioga and Venango Streets, the back of properties facing south along the north side of Venango Street, including the property located at 2301 through 07 East Venango Street, and the back of properties facing east along the west side of Amber Street, as well as the properties located at 2066 through 80 East Tioga Street and 2882 East Tioga Street. Continuing the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise, Inc., a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association for the district, approving a final plan for the district, including a list of proposed improvements and their estimated cost.
That will be on this, referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 522 through 526 Cantrell Street.
And that will be at our next session's council. Final passes. You have none?
And a non-privileged resolution initiating action to continue the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area bounded generally by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, the property line of 3300 Agate Street, and the back of properties facing west along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland and Ontario Streets.
And that will be on our next session council final passage calendar. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 1 non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
A non-privileged resolution committing the City of Philadelphia to meet or exceed its share of the targets set by the Paris Climate Accord for the mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions.
And that will be on the next session of council's final passage. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you, Council President. I offer no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you very much. And that concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Confusion, Mr. President, but I did need to confirm that I move for suspension of the rules to permit first consideration of the non-privileged resolution I spoke about. I introduced earlier supporting House Bill 2655 so that it is indeed read on today's final passage calendar.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. That resolution will be on today's final passage calendar.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. The next order of business is reports from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a report from the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank
The
you.
Committee of the Whole reports out one resolution with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. You have it. Mr. Decker, please read the report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee of the Whole, to which is referred Resolution Number 170414 entitled, "A Resolution Approving the Appointment of Michael Carroll to the Board of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority." Respectful reports, it is considered the same and returns the attached resolution to Council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. The chair again recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the consideration of this resolution, Resolution Number 170414, on today's final passage calendar.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended to permit consideration of this resolution, number 170414, on today's final passage calendar. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution will be placed on today's final passage calendar. The chair now recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance reports one bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Mr. Decker, please read that report.
The Committee on Finance, to which is referred Bill Number 170623, entitled, "An Ordinance Authorizing the Bond Committee to Sell Bonds at Public or Private Negotiated Sale to Provide Funds Toward Various Capital Municipal Purposes, Providing for Appropriations to the Sinking Fund Commission for the Payment of Such Bonds, Authorizing Agreements to Provide Credit or Payment or Liquidity Sources for the bonds in connection with issuance of the bonds, and certain other actions, Providing for obtaining the consent of the electors to increasing the indebtedness of the city, and fixing a day and providing for arrangements for holding the election for obtaining such consent." Respectful reports, it is considered the same and returns the attached bill to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair again recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 170623.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 170623. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and this bill will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our report from committee. And the next order of business is consideration of the calendar. I note that the bill just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules has been Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to ask for suspension of rules so that the Pride bid can be heard today. Resolution.
Yeah, this
Ask for suspension of rules.
the resolution number. Oh, it's a resolution that was introduced today.
Today, yes.
Okay. Mr. Decker, do you have that?
A resolution initiating action to continue the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area bounded generally by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, the property line of 3300 Agger Street, and the backup properties facing along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland Street and Ontario Streets.
Thank you. Councilman, if you can make a motion for suspension of the rules.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion for suspension of the rules to be heard this council session.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution, based on the suspension of the rules, will be placed on our final passage calendar today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move on to the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with the suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. This bill will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the following resolutions on the final passage calendar. And resolution numbers 170608, 170629, 170630, 170631, 170632, 170633, 170-634, 170635, 170-637, 170-638, 170-639, 170-640, 170-644, 170-645, 170-646, 170-647, 170-648, 170-649, 170-650, 170-655, 170-657, 170-658, 170-659, 170-660, and 170-661.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the resolutions just read by Councilman Heenan. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries, and we will consider the resolution consent agenda shortly. Chair now, recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion concerning the bills on the second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions and bills being considered on the consent agenda, the following resolutions and bills are being called up for the second reading and final passage calendar today.
Thank you. We get a second?
The consent agenda. This starts with 306A. These are the bills. This is the consent agenda just for the bills. And there's the regular, which is just that one bill. Okay. I clean them all in. Because you have to do one for resolutions. Council President.
Ready,
Are
Council?
we okay to proceed?
Yeah, just do the,
Chief Clerk, we're going to do the bills for the consent.
just for the
agenda.
bills, yeah. Consent agenda bills.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. And I move that the rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to the following bills on the second reading and final passage for today. Bill numbers 170306A, 170474A, 170559A, 170357, 1705553, 170-206, 160-839, 161-104, 170-192, 170-266, 170-398, 170-399, 170-402, 170-403, 170-404, 170-428, 170-430, 170-436, 170-463, 170-465, 170-469, 170-476, 170-495, 170-496, 170-498, 170-500, 170-501, 170-503, 170-504, 170-512, 170-516, 170-558, 170-287, 170-358, 170-397, 170-438, 170-506, 170-507, 170-508, 170-509, 170513, 170557, 170593, 170 594, 170 595, 170 464, 161111, and 170470.
Thank you, Councilman. There was a motion. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you. It's been moved and probably seconded. The rules of council be suspended to permit the use of a consent agenda to consider the bills just read by Councilman Heenan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. The motion carries, and we will consider the consent agenda shortly. Chair again recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the regular second reading and final passage calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. In addition to the resolutions and bills being considered on the consent agendas, the following resolutions and bills are being called up for the second reading and final passage on today's calendar. Bill numbers 170162. All other bills and resolutions are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering these bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today, we will have our public comment session. The public comment session will go as follows. If you have not already signed up to speak on a bill or resolution that is on the final session calendar today, you may sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the middle of the council chambers. There's a podium, and on that podium is a device. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks, and when the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to the guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Sam Staten Jr.
God is good. Mr. President, members of City Council, I really appreciate the opportunity to come here today to speak. Just coming in from out of town, and I can't tell you how many red lights I ran. I guess I'll see that when the tickets come, but I definitely ran a few of them. I stopped at 6 because I knew how important it was for me to be here for my secretary. I don't have to tell you how it makes me feel that the city of Philadelphia recognized her today. And we also know that in the business of being a secretary, you don't get 33 years in on the job. Not everybody get 33 years in. The White House secretaries leave after 8 years. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. She's been of value to me and my dad for these 33 years. I really miss her. The office is gonna be vacant for a minute because I gotta find the right person, because you can't buy loyalty. You can't buy loyalty and dedication. You know, and I recall when she started, you know, you see secretaries come, you see them go. But she was smart. She knew who to cling to. She knew what to do and how to do it. And we so much appreciate her. So on behalf of Labor's Local 332, we again want to thank the council for their resolution honoring her, because she always will be in our hearts every day that she lives, and we appreciate her. So thank you, Cheryl.
Terrence Melsted. Commenting on 170206.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Terrence Milstead, and I'm Director of Research and Planning at Portfolio Associates, a professional services consulting firm here in Center City, Philadelphia. Portfolio is a minority and female-owned company that was started by my employer in 1969. Beverly Harper, who some of you may know. Beverly wanted to be here this afternoon to speak herself. She is recovering from open heart surgery, and so she's asked me to come and represent her, and she wanted me to let you know that she is recovering nicely. A Portfolio provides a range of research and community relations services for clients who are mostly public sector here in the city, and our clients have included PennDOT, SEPTA, and a number of other agencies involved in urban development work here. I'm here today speaking as a private citizen, as a taxpayer, a property owner in Philadelphia, but also as an employee of a minority-owned enterprise and a female-owned enterprise, and one that's managed to stay in business and to thrive for close to 50 years. Over the last half century, Ms. Harper has experienced firsthand the challenges of minority participation in the workforce. And while great advances have been made since 1969, there is still much work to be done. This is as true for the building trades as it is for a professional consulting firm like ours. So on behalf of my employer and on behalf of myself, I'm here today to express support for this bill, the rebuild proposal in particular. We feel that it's not only critical to set hard targets for minority participation on these projects, but to also establish a clearly defined mechanism by which efforts to reach these targets will be assessed, and to hold parties accountable in this regard. We believe that this bill does that. And while we also recognize the importance of setting targets for minority participation and establishing metrics for success, we also believe it's important to create conditions that allow for a pool of eligible skilled workers and a pipeline for moving those newly trained workers towards job opportunities. Again, as we understand it, this bill would do that. In short, this bill and the processes that it puts into motion represent nothing less than an historic effort to redress decades of disinvestment in some of the city's most vulnerable neighborhoods, while at the same time tackling the underlying historic and persistent problem of minority exclusion from job opportunities. So in closing, and again on behalf of my employer, Ms. Harper, and speaking for myself, I just want to commend the council and all those involved for all the work that's gone into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please read our next speaker.
Hassan Abdallah.
Good day, President of the Council and all the council members. My name is Hassan Abdallah, and I'm a member of the Philadelphia Masjid, Sister Clara Muhammad School, and we formed a coalition of African Americans throughout various mosques throughout. Okay. A coalition of individuals and groups throughout the city who have band together to try to assist in getting more African Americans contracts and into the trades, into the building trades. Now, the council knows our dilemma, our plight. It's been discussed for years. There have been numerous studies going back even to 1948. There was a Fair Employment Practices Ordinance. There have been numerous laws, regulations, rules that have been subverted. And in the final analysis, we've made some progress. We haven't made nearly as much as we need to make. And we want you to consider when you make these laws, when you vote on these bills, and this particular bill, and any other subsequent bills, that you will consider that we're talking about the lives of human beings. We use statistics, but we're talking about you have murders in the city every single night almost. You have young men who are not going to college, they are going to prison. You have young men standing on the corner who've been rejected by society, who were told that they were second class, that they don't count, that they don't matter, that they shouldn't belong, and they've been excluded. And so you begin to adopt the behavior of someone who's been mistreated. And so we want you to understand that this has real world life consequences for what we say and what we do. And we'd like for you to, we're for union, we're not against union. We have family and friends who are in the union, but we want to hold the union accountable for upholding the laws and regulations that are on the books. You can petition and you can complain about things that are going on in America without being un-American. And so we're for the unions, we're for having more of African Americans to participate in the contracts that come down through the city. And I belong to a group that our ancestors prayed that one day we would have men and women in positions of authority to uphold our rights. And I'm encouraging you to do that. This is what you've been charged with by being elected. And very often language is used, tricks are used to subvert what we've been given. Even the term minority. African Americans who were victims of the transatlantic slave trade fought for and won some rights to be treated as human beings in America. And then when the final analysis, when the legislation came down, it was for minorities. So what is a minority? So these are the things that we're asking you to do for us, because we can't do it for ourselves. We're talking about the young men and women in the streets. We're not asking for this for ourselves. My kids have gone to college and they have businesses and so forth and so on. We're looking out for the young men who are standing on the street corners with their pants falling down off their behinds, who are going to jail, who are trying to sell marijuana for $5 bags of marijuana to make a living. The unions and the building trades is a way for young people who are not going to go to college to have a middle-class lifestyle, and they deserve it. And so we're asking you today, out here, my time is up. We're here today to ask you to look out for our rights, to take care of us, to look out for us, to make sure that we don't get the short end of the stick.
Thank you.
Tracy Gordon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, Darryl, we finally getting the playgrounds you proposed a couple of years ago. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
I'm very happy about that. It's about quality of life in our communities. I travel a lot, and I be in Brooklyn, and you should see their playgrounds for their children. It's really top of the line. I'm here to speak on bill number 170206. I want to personally thank Councilwoman Cindy Bass, Councilman David O., Councilman Derek Green, and Councilwoman Sanchez as far as enforcement. I've spoke to this council several times for years about the lack of diversity on construction sites. And I make it a point to get out of my car every time I see a major construction site or even a minor one, and I never hardly see our black men and women on those sites. I just wanted to quote that David O. said that as far as he's looked, in the history of Philadelphia, a project has never been stopped for violating diversity or inclusion standards. And Councilwoman Sanchez went on to say that she thinks that rebuild can be different if you articulate in the ordinance, if you put in a mechanism whereby the project managers or the general contractors agree not to be paid or having their work stopped. And if you don't have the numbers, then a third-party entity like OEL comes in and puts the workers on the job. Those are your colleagues saying that. And this is what we're saying here in this community. Quality of life is more than just us having the playgrounds for our children. It's also for our children to be able to work on those projects so we can have a better quality of life and so we can continue to build Philadelphia into the great city that we see. I supported the sugar tax against everybody in my community. I don't know one person in my family or community that support the sugar tax, but I did because I understand the importance of quality of life. Everybody can't get on a plane and go to Disneyland. Everybody can't get on a plane and go to Disney World. But you can walk your children around the corner and go to a playground and make a child's life. When I grew up, my life was very fulfilled because I had a decent playground. I want to thank Councilman Kenyatta Johnson because I kept complaining. I said, I don't have a swing for my grandbaby now. I don't have a swing. And the other day I went around there and they had repaired the swing, so she was scared to get on the swing. But nonetheless, I do support this bill, but I want you all to hold off on it like your other four colleagues said so we can get an enforcement arm so we can make history in the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Emmanuel Bussey.
Good morning, members of council. Good morning, members of council, fellow colleagues, other different kind of Democrats. Thank you for y'all allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm a little disappointed because I asked a number of community leaders to come in today, take off work, leave their organization, and come in to address council. And actually, we came to address council to talk about the fine job you did with this historic document. Though it is not perfect, though it is not where we all would like it to have been, it is a good start. And I asked them to take off work. I'm talking community leaders like Greg Brinkley and Rochelle Bilal Albert Little Page. I mean, community leaders that have been investing in our communities for decades from all across the city. 21 of us came together and said, we're going to actually support city council. We came together and said, okay, instead of being in opposition to council and legislators all the time, when they do the right thing, we're going to come in and support them. We're going to support Maria Quinona Sanchez. We're going to support David O. We're going to support Cindy Bass and Derek Green. We're going to support these council people that actually are willing to put their vote and their money where their mouth is in terms of good legislation for our community. And to not give them the opportunity to address you guys is kind of disappointing. We need to come up with another mechanism. If this is the only mechanism that we got to take off on our work days to come in to address council, even when we're in support of council, and then we not have an opportunity to speak, is extremely disappointing. I'm going to address the rebuild situation. This is the reason why I'm here today. It is critical that we have an enforcement component to rebuild. For over 70 years, we've been talking about minority participation. And I'm going to just share this with you. If the participation in the building and trade union, if city council looked like the building and trade union, that not one of you guys, it'd only be 6 white men in council right now. Because the building and trade union is 99% white male. So every non-white male in city council, if this city council looked like the building and trade union, you wouldn't be here. 65% of the council is minorities right now. The rebuild has 27%, if I'm not mistaken, 27%, a target of 27% African American participation. Yet 65% of council is minority. 46% of Philadelphians are minorities. Rebuild is a good start. But you all know that for 70 years, for decades, we've been getting promises from union. I would love to know why city council would oppose having more authority, more power to stop the unions or hold up a check if the unions don't do what they're supposed to do. And in brief, we want city council, we would love for city council to have an enforcement component, to hold the unions and the city and administration accountable to what you guys agree that they should do. If that enforcement component is not in the rebuild bill, you guys know as well as I do that it's kind of worthless that the paper that is written on. We need an enforcement component. I'm counting on the most savvy, sophisticated, and intelligent city council that Philadelphia has ever had to make sure that we have an enforcement component in that rebuild bill. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Dobbins need a new gym.
Okay. Hey, how you doing? Good.
Rochelle Bilal.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, City Council President Darrell Clark and all the other council people here. I first want to commend Cindy Bass, Sister Sanchez. Just to let you know, I grew up in the 2400 block of North Lawrence Street and went to John Wells School. And my family still lives down here. Thank you. I want to thank the other council people, David O., who also put a mechanism. Let me say this. I've been in this city for 60 years. I've paid all the taxes that you increased. I paid the water bills that you increased. Poverty increased on your watch. This is an opportunity to make sure that my children, our children, can stay here and work. If you don't have an enforcement mechanism in this rebuild bill, it will be business as usual. It will be business as usual. My mother always taught me there are consequences to your decision. I am retired, I am free, and I will work the rest of my years on those who allow this bill not to do what it is supposed to do for our communities in this city. Every day. Every day. If you don't have it, MOUs are always broken. Oh, we forgot. We can't do it. Oh, this person, he didn't do it. But if you cut the check off, they will get their memory back, and then they will go out and get the community back to do the work. If you cut the check off, it will happen. So please, it's no rush to do this. If you need a mechanism to enforce this, then do it.
This is the time so this city, from this point on, can do its job in representing the people who put all of y'all in these seats. All of y'all. And if you don't, remember, there are consequences to your decision. Let's make the right ones today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony.
Judith Robinson.
Oh, she is here. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I'm Judith Robinson, here to testify on Bill 170206. In 2012, I came here to this body and I asked the question, who among you all will have the guts to take on the racist unions that have been denying African Americans inclusion since eons, but most Philadelphia-wise? The Philadelphia Plan, back when Strawberry Mansion High School was built, the Philadelphia Plan was created as a rule of thumb to encourage the unions to include African Americans, all the way back in the 60s. With all of this building going on in this town, as a native, it really pains me deeply to have to come back here 5 years later to comment on issues regarding inclusion. Enforcement has always been the key. It was then and it is now. If you do not have a way to enforce this rebuild document and all of the other building that's going on, it's just unconscionable that we would move forward. As we talk about poverty daily, this is the most poverty-stricken city among the most poverty-stricken cities. We can do something about it. This is an opportunity. White supremacy does not need our assistance to continue to take all of the resources, all of the jobs, and not include the poverty-stricken people that you claim you're concerned about. 25 of our libraries were built in this town as a result of the Scotsman, Andrew Carnegie. I want you all to take a page out of his book. He came to America, he made a whole lot of money, but then he gave it back to the poor. That's how these libraries were built, with his money. So I'd be darned if you should take this man's money who was trying to give to the poor, and then all these years later, you suck down all the dollars in rebuilding right on the very libraries that he gave to us through philanthropy. Now is the time to deal with this. Give our men and women opportunities to be included in what's going on in Philadelphia. We're in the throes of gentrification. Let everybody rise. Let everybody rise. Reduce poverty now. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Steve Masters.
Good afternoon, Council President, members of council.
Good afternoon.
My name is Steve Masters, and I'm here today, not as a former colleague of yours, but as one of the leaders of Indivisible Northwest Philly. Indivisible Northwest Philly is one of 6,000 indivisible groups across the nation. We started after the last election, and we are leading the grassroots resistance to the Trump agenda. We oppose the Trump agenda because it is authoritarian, bigoted, hateful, and unjust. Our resistance is going fairly well. In Northwest Philadelphia, we've already hosted Governor Wolf, Congressman Evans, State Senator Haywood, and State Rep Grab, and Councilwoman Quinona Sanchez, and we look forward to hosting Councilwoman Bass and many other members of council in the future. We worked closely with Councilwoman Gim on the resolution before you today to support the resistance in the U.S. Senate to the passage of Trump Care. And we want to do a shout out to the co-sponsors, Councilwoman Bass, Parker, Johnson, and Green, strong presence from Northwest Philadelphia. We believe that this will be the first time that a major city has endorsed the resistance strategy of the indivisible movement, and so we are very grateful for you to weigh in on this. Today we've heard a lot of times when consent has been given by you to your colleagues to move the process forward. In the U.S. Senate, many rules require consent to move it forward also, but earlier this week, Senator Casey and other Democratic members of the Senate began to withhold consent from every single item on the Senate agenda as a way to fight back against the passage of the Trump Care legislation that will strip away health care from 23 million Americans. These are not normal times, and Council President Clark, I remember years ago when we were facing an intransigent CSX company in council, you said maybe you need to lay down in front of the tracks to get their attention and to make them stop. These are extraordinary times. We're not asking you to do that, but we are asking the Senate, and you are backing us with that, to do something called a filibuster by amendment, to basically tie up the Senate for weeks and perhaps months at a time until Trump Care is given a public hearing, is scored by the Congressional Budget Office, and is revealed in its full to the American public so that we can all see how many people are going to die because of this legislation and how many people are going to suffer. We thank you so much for backing this.
Thank you.
Lila Berman.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here. I am a colleague of Steve Masters on the steering committee of Indivisible Northwest Philly. I am also a history professor, and I'm here to express my pride in my city for standing strong in the resistance action opposing Trump Care. I believe that we need to do this as individuals, I believe we need to do this as communities, and I believe we need to do this as a city for two key reasons: democracy and humanity. Our city must stand strong in supporting the fact that government does have a responsibility. Senator Toomey was on a televised town hall where he was taking questions over Facebook. And when asked why he believes government should not be in the business of health care, he said, well, government's not good at much. It's a bit of cynicism, I suppose, to be working for a group, for an institution that you don't believe is very good for much. But in fact, government represents us. Government is the one channel that every single citizen has access to. And private industry can do all sorts of good things, but I can't make private industry responsive to me as a citizen. Whereas we as citizens can make sure that government does what we want it to do and is accountable to us. For this reason, it's incredibly important that government and the Republicans in Senate and our president right now doesn't have the opportunity to cut government out of the most important part of being a society, which is taking care of the people who live in that society. We need to protect our democracy, and we need to make sure that government is empowered to take care of its citizens, and that we as citizens give it that power. I'm also concerned that as the health care bill in Senate has just recently been released, pieces of it have been released, we are learning that we are eviscerating our system of health care in order to give major tax benefits and breaks to the wealthiest Americans. It strikes me as the most astoundingly inhumane act to determine that we should get rid of the tax burden that the wealthiest Americans have, and instead take health care away from the most vulnerable people, from children, from people who will be significantly compromised in their ability to receive health care, whose lives will not be protected unless we stand strong and say that every citizen has an obligation to pay into this system and to be part of the system that takes care of everyone, and to make sure that those among us who are vulnerable, those among us who run into situations in our lives when we need help, have a government that is working for us. So I am proud to be in this city. I am proud of all of you today, and I support this resolution wholeheartedly.
Thank you for your testimony.
Marissa Parker.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Marissa Parker, and I'm an attorney with the law firm of Stradley Ronan. I'm here today on behalf of my client, 19R Chestnut Partners LP, an affiliate of Pearl Properties. My client asked I attend this session to express their concerns with respect to proposed bill number 170498 and bill number 170556, which I'll refer to as the ordinances, and ask that council withhold voting on the ordinances today so that all interested parties can engage in productive conversations about the development of the 1900 block of Sansom Street. These ordinances relate to the Southern Land Company's development plans for 1907 to 15 Walnut Street and 1904 to 40 Sansom Street. My client owns 112 South 19th Street and is constructing the Harper, a mixed-use development on that property. Their site is located directly across from 1904 to 40 Sansom Street and includes approximately 200 feet of frontage along the north side of Sansom Street between 19th and 20th Streets. My client plans to develop substantial retail space along the 1900 block of Sansom Street, which will bring significant economic benefit to the city and increase pedestrian foot traffic throughout that block. My client has followed Southern Land's development plans as shared publicly and has absolutely no opposition to Southern Land's development of the corridor. In fact, my client wishes to express its support for the positive impact that Southern Land's development will have on what has been a long dormant but very important site in Philadelphia. My client was aware that the subject ordinances were being discussed with various stakeholders in the immediate neighborhood, but our understanding of the ordinances, as presented publicly, was that loading and trash pickup would occur on Moravian Street, as has been agreed by the immediate stakeholders leading those discussions. However, yesterday, we learned about a last-minute change to the ordinances that provided for curb cut to enable access for loading and trash pickup on Sansom Street. Specifically, the proposed amendment to Section 14-502, Center City Overlay District, adds a parking and loading requirement in the Rittenhouse Square area of, quote, one means of vehicular ingress or egress on each property frontage of 200 feet or more along streets with a width of 40 feet or more. In other words, curb cuts for loading and trash pickup will be allowed on the 1900 block of Sansom Street. My client's development plans for its site are the product of several years of discussions with the city, neighbors, and the Center City Residents Association. My client's plans have loading and trash pickup occurring from 20th Street, not Sansom Street. They had originally proposed loading from Sansom Street, but after much opposition from neighbors, they adjusted their plans to load from 20th Street as a good faith accommodation to those interested parties and neighbors. As a result, my client's building retail throughout their frontage on Sansom Street instead of curb cuts and loading. Having operated in good faith and having changed their development plans to accommodate neighbors at great expense, my client now faces a devastating impact to its Sansom Street retail development if loading is permitted. Given that ample loading is available from Moravian Street, and in fact was planned to occur from Moravian Street, proceeding as proposed with the ordinances will unnecessarily frustrate my client's development in this important retail corridor. Accordingly, we request that council withhold voting on the ordinances today. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your testimony.
Walter Spencer.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. My name is Walter Spencer. I'm here today representing the Center City Residents Association, which is a registered community organization that covers the Rittenhouse Square overlay area. The Center City Residents Board of Directors met last week and voted not to oppose this development. There was also a stakeholders group that convened that worked with the developer over a year and a half. There were a lot of changes made on lots of things, including egress, ingress, and loading. That group composed of 700 near neighbors, residents of the area, support the project. I would ask if bills 170498 and 10556 be approved by your body today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Paul Boney.
Hello, my name is Paul Bonney, and I'm here on behalf of the Mantua Civic Association, the Powelton Village Civic Association, People's Emergency Center, and Mount Vernon Manor CDC. In a couple of minutes, James Wright from PEC will be speaking at this microphone, and I look forward to his comments. We support the zoning bills for Phase 1 of Schuylkill Yards, a dynamic series of projects that will have many benefits for the people of Philadelphia. We thank first and foremost Councilwoman Blackwell, a strong and fearless leader for the causes in which she believes and supports. Her commitment and passion for her district is unsurpassed. With her support and even-handedness, we were able to negotiate a groundbreaking community benefits agreement that will allow for significant investments in affordable housing in the surrounding communities. We thank you. We also thank the Councilwoman for her support in zoning bills that rezone the neighborhood of Mantua and also a neighborhood conservation overlay for the Powelton Village neighborhood. And we thank you for that too, Councilwoman. We also thank the developer of Schuylkill Yards, Brandywine Realty Trust, and its president and CEO, Jerry Sweeney, for his leadership and vision. And finally, we'd like to thank Mr. John Christmas of the Council President's Office for his day-to-day involvement in helping to bring this process to a successful conclusion. We all now have much work to do, and we look forward to it. Thank you all.
Thank you for your testimony.
James Wright.
Good afternoon. My name is James Wright. I'm the Director of Community, Economic, and Real Estate Development from the People's Emergency Center. PEC is a comprehensive social services entity. We've been around for 45 years. We work to strengthen neighborhoods, drive change, and nurture families in West Philadelphia. I'm speaking on behalf of PEC, Mount Vernon Manor CDC, Mantua Civic Association, Powelton Village Civic Association, in support of the Schuylkill Yards, Phase 1 Schuylkill Yards bill, zoning bill, the rezoning bill for Mantua, and the conservation overlay for Powelton Village Civic Association. We have been working really hard over the years to strengthen our neighborhoods, reestablish it as a place where a community of choice, where residents choose to live, thrive, and work. And that work has been hard, but it's been made a lot easier with the help of Councilwoman Janie Blackwell. And so from the bottom of our hearts and on behalf of the community, I wanted to say thank you, Councilwoman. And with the Councilwoman's support, as Paul alluded to, we've been able to come up with a really strong community benefits agreement that will really help us to make significant investment for the cause of affordable housing. And so I just wanted to say thanks to Jerry and Joe and Chris and his team, and wanted to say thanks again to the Councilwoman for her support. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Joe Danahill.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is an official decree of the people and writ mandamus quo warranto, and as such requires immediate action and remedy. Every week, this council and mayor transfers property to the government, possibly illegally. This Cain and Abel type of brotherly love is not what William Penn envisioned. This city touts itself as America's birthplace. Can government violate the Constitution and laws in the very place where this country was conceived? Oath Constitution law violations must be corrected and violators prosecuted to respect the rule of law. This predatory government dishonors sacrifices of founding fathers, patriots, and veterans. Can anyone be above the law, was asked by George Mason, delegate to the Constitutional Convention. Government cannot deny the people's God-given right to conduct a public Seventh Amendment trial by jury to decide what damages were suffered and who to convict for crimes against the people. Then why has the mayor, council, and others opposed this constitutionally required remedy multiple times? Are oath-bound officials above the law? The constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and others listed in SCOTUS 1589-65, 1413-30, 144056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming. The denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 23 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of law government must have its charter to govern revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require Constitution laws be enforced. Jail is required for all who violate oath or law. I remind council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. We will now consider today's resolution consent agenda. I would ask the clerk to read the titles of all the resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda. Upon such an objection and without debate, the resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. Councilman, we have some special business for you, right? All right, let me dial that back.
Okay.
I'm going to recognize Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a motion for suspension of the rules to have the resolution read into the record today, heard in this session.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, you have that? Yeah.
And this is just to make Mike's day easier, that's all.
Let me read the title.
A resolution approving the redevelopment contract to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 522 through 526 Cantrell Street.
Thank you. All right, now make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for suspension of rules to have that resolution just read into the record, be heard today in today's session.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution will be on today's regular passage calendar today. Okay, I'll pick back up. I'll ask that Mr. Decker please read the titles of all resolutions on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the resolution on the resolution consent agenda. Upon such an objection, and without debate, that resolution will be immediately removed from the resolution consent agenda and placed on today's regular final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, will you now read the titles of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda?
Resolution number 170608, entitled a resolution approving the appointment of Wendell Anthony Ewing to the Philadelphia Water, Sewer, and Stormwater Rate Board. And resolution number 170629, entitled a resolution adding Muhammad Ali Way to the street signs on 52nd Street between Parkside and Pascal Avenues in recognition of the greatest, the athlete, boxer, philanthropist, and social activist. And resolution number 17630, entitled a resolution adding Siddiq's Water Ice Way to the street signs on South 60th between Locust and Spruce Streets in recognition of the great success of Siddiq's Real Fruit Water Ice and his commitment to providing public service to seniors and young people in Philadelphia. And resolution number 170631, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Mantua urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 3715 Mount Vernon Street. And resolution number 170632, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 3rd Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170633, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 51st Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170634, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 51st Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170635, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 6th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170637, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 16th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170638, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 43rd Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170639, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fees, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 37th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170640, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Cecil B. Moore Avenue urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1405 Jefferson Street and 1407 Jefferson Street. And resolution number 170644, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Haddington urban renewal area, unit numbers 2 and 3, identified by house numbers and street addresses as 5901 through 5913 Market Street, 5915 through 5917 Market Street, 5919 Market Street, 5921 Market Street, and 5923 through 5931 Market Street. And resolution number 170645, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the West Philadelphia redevelopment area identified by house number and street address as 6161 West Girard Avenue. And resolution number 170646, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 4th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 160647, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 38th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170648, entitled a resolution also naming South 31st Street between Grace Ferry Avenue and Wharton Street, Lillian Ray Way, to honor Lillian Ray's lifetime of service to the City of Philadelphia and to her beloved Grays Ferry neighborhood. And resolution number 170649, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee, simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 18th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170650, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 19th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170655, entitled a resolution calling on the City of Philadelphia to stand with Nabisco workers and protect American jobs by supporting a no-buy policy of Nabisco Mondelez products manufactured outside the U.S. And resolution number 170657, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 31st Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170658, entitled a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the central Tioga urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 1621 through 1631 West Venango Street. And resolution number 170659, entitled a resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon, situated in the 11th Ward of the City of Philadelphia. And resolution number 170660, entitled a resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to adopt House Bill number 1446, the Pennsylvania Clean Transportation Infrastructure Networks Act, to promote well-planned, clean transportation infrastructure. And resolution number 170661, entitled a resolution urging the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission to maintain Philadelphia's refineries' pipeline access to western Pennsylvania markets by denying Laurel Pipeline Company's application, thereby supporting jobs and economic growth in Philadelphia and southeastern Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for a motion to adopt each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda be adopted. All in favor say aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it, and each of the resolutions on the resolution consent agenda has been adopted. We will now consider today's bill consent agenda. I will ask the clerk to read the titles of all the bills on the consent agenda. After each title is read, any member may object to the inclusion of the bill on the consent agenda. Upon such an objection and without debate, the bill will be immediately removed from the consent agenda and placed on our regular and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of the bills on the consent agenda.
Bill number 170306A, entitled an ordinance to reinstate Bill number 140439, amending Section 14502 of the Zoning Code, entitled CTR Center City Overlay, and Section 14602 of the Zoning Code, entitled Use Tables, to amend Section 14803 Motor Vehicle Parking Standards. And Bill number 170474A, entitled an ordinance authorizing 1338 Inc. to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1338 through 40 South 10th Street. And Bill number 170559A, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development for use by the city of premises located at 400 North Broad Street and 1501 Callowhill Street. And Bill number 170357, entitled an ordinance authorizing Liberty Property, 18th and Arch LP, to construct, own, and maintain ancillary building encroachments at 1800 Arch Street. And Bill number 170553, entitled an ordinance authorizing Brandywine Realty Trust to construct, own, and maintain various right-of-way encroachments at 3001 through 23 Market Street. And Bill number 170206, entitled an ordinance authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a service agreement between the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development relating to the financing of the City of Philadelphia's Rebuild Program, approving the issuance by the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development of bonds, notes, or other evidences of indebtedness in one or more series to finance or refinance such program, and authorizing and approving the obligation of the City of Philadelphia to pay in full, when due, the service fee and other amounts payable under the service agreement. And Bill number 160839, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 30th Street, Chestnut Street, 31st Street Extended, Market Street, 32nd Street, and Arch Street Extended. And Bill number 161104, entitled an ordinance amending Section 14516 of the Philadelphia Zoning Code, entitled West Overlay District. And Bill number 170192, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land within an area bounded by Spruce Street, South 40th Street, Locust Street, and South 41st Street. Further, to adopt the master plan for the University of Pennsylvania. And Bill number 170266, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Filbert Street, 59th Street, Market Street, and Salford Street. And Bill number 170398, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 40th Street, Girard Avenue, 34th Street, Mantua Avenue, 31st Street, Spring Garden Street, and Lancaster Avenue. And Bill number 170399, entitled an ordinance amending section 14504 of the Philadelphia Code entitled NCO Neighborhood Conservation Overlay District by adding new areas entitled Powelton Village Zone 1 and Powelton Village Zone 2. And Bill number 170402, entitled an ordinance to amend Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning by revising certain provisions of section 14600 entitled Use Regulations. And Bill number 170403, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Clearfield Street, Shedbrook Street, Lippincott Street, and 34th Street. And Bill number 170404, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Zoning and Planning to prohibit medical marijuana dispensary locations within 500 feet of any daycare. And Bill number 170428, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Diamond Street, 10th Street, Burke Street, 11th Street, Norris Street, and Marvine Street. And Bill number 170430, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cambria Street, Kensington Avenue, Allegheny Avenue, Jasper Street, Clearfield Street, Helen Street, Elkert Street, Emerald Street, Stella Street, and Frankfurt Avenue. And Bill number 170436, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Knights Road, Red Lion Road, East Keswick Road, Morrell Avenue, and Byberry Creek. And Bill number 170463, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Linden Avenue, Extended Academy Road, Grant Avenue, Frankfurt Avenue, the Pocassin Creek, and the Delaware River. And Bill number 170465, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Gate Street, Henry Avenue, Roxborough Avenue, Magdalena Street, Walnut Lane, Henry Avenue, Kingsley Street, Houghton Street, Walnut Lane, Chairs Lane, Tower Street, Levering Street, Silverwood Street, Leverington Avenue, Silverwood Street, Fountain Street, and Ridge Avenue. And Bill number 170469, entitled an ordinance to amend Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code by revising certain provisions of Section 14500, entitled Overlay Zoning Districts, for the amendment of the North Delaware Avenue Neighborhood Commercial Area Overlay District. And Bill number 170476, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Front Street, the Delaware Expressway, Laurel Street, Canal Street, and Poplar Street. And Bill number 170495, entitled an ordinance amending Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code to revise certain provisions of Chapter 14600, entitled Use Regulations, by amending the green roof calculations. And Bill number 170496, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Girard Avenue, 41st Street, Parkside Avenue, Girard Avenue, and Railroad Right-of-Way. And Bill number 170498, entitled an ordinance amending Section 14202 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Rules of Measurements by providing for further measurement exclusions, amending Section 14502 entitled CTR Center City Overlay District by modifying the subsection entitled Rittenhouse Square and adding new bulk and massing controls for the area, amending Section 14604 entitled Accessory Uses and Structures by modifying setback requirements, amending Section 14702 entitled Floor Area and Height Bonuses by modifying bonuses for mixed income housing and underground accessory parking. And Bill number 170500, entitled an ordinance to amend the master plan for Temple University and to approve the proposed addition to 1810 Leah Course Walk. And Bill number 170501, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Cotman Avenue, Crispin Street, Frankfurt Avenue, Cheltenham Avenue, Bustleton Avenue, and Roosevelt Boulevard. And Bill number 170503, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Bridge Street, Harbison Avenue, Tulip Street, Hegerman Street, Devereaux Avenue, Torresdale Avenue, Robin Street, Van Dyke Street, Unruh Avenue, Keystone Street, Devereaux Street Extended, and Delaware Expressway. And Bill number 170504, entitled an ordinance to amend Title 14 of the Philadelphia Code by revising certain provisions of Sections 14200 entitled Definitions and 14900 entitled Signs. And Bill number 170512, entitled an ordinance to amend the Sports Stadium Special Purpose District Master Plan in the area bounded by Darien Street, Packer Avenue, 7th Street, and Patterson Avenue by approving the proposed ballpark services building at the intersection of Hartranft and Darien Streets. And Bill number 170516, entitled an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by 3rd Street, Burke Street, 6th Street, and Lehigh Avenue. And Bill number 170558, entitled an ordinance amending Bill number 170195, approved in June of 2017, entitled an ordinance to adopt the capital program for the 6 fiscal years 2018 through 2023 inclusive by adding, revising, and/or removing certain projects, amounts, and sources. And Bill number 170287, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development all or part of a parcel of land located in the area bounded by Linden Avenue, State Road, Amtrak's Northeast Corridor, and I-95 for further conveyance. And Bill number 170358, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Beach Interplex, Inc. for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 1514 Cecil B. Moore Avenue. And Bill number 170397, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development to purchase 2 properties situate at 1620 South 49th Street and 4900 Grays Ferry Avenue, or 4900 Grays Avenue. And Bill number 170437, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development all or part of a parcel of land located in the area bounded by East Ontario Street, Weekle Street, Tulip Street, and East Tioga Street for further conveyance. And Bill number 170506, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Washington Service Corp. for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 8747 Frankfurt Avenue. And Bill number 170507, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority for use by the city of a portion of the premises located at 1425 Arch Street. And Bill number 170508, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a sublease agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority for use by the city of a portion of the premises located at 1500 John F. Kennedy Boulevard. And Bill number 170511, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to convey to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority all or part of a parcel of land located in the area bounded by Market Street, North Salford Street, Filbert Street, and North 59th Street for further conveyance. And Bill number 170513, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to enter into a lease agreement with Grays Ferry Partners by its agent, Corman Commercial Properties, for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises located at 3009 Grays Ferry Avenue. And Bill number 170557, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to acquire fee simple title or a lesser interest by purchase, condemnation, or otherwise in parcels of land generally in the area bounded by Susquehanna, Lambert, Norris, 22nd, Diamond, and 21st Streets, and authorizing an agreement between the city and the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the PRA to act as the city's condemnation agent. And Bill number 170593, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Procurement Commissioner to enter into an agreement with the Philadelphia Municipal Authority to provide for the acquisition of big belly waste and recycling receptacles, related maintenance and software licensing, and authorizing an advertising concession. And Bill number 170594, entitled an ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on Lawrence Street between Ontario Street and Westmoreland Street. And Bill number 170595, entitled an ordinance regulating the direction of movement of traffic on Westmoreland Street between Lawrence Street to 5th Street. And Bill number 170464, entitled an ordinance authorizing the Parks and Recreation Commissioner and the Procurement Commissioner to execute a concession agreement with Treetop Quest, Inc., or its wholly owned subsidiary, for an aerial adventure park in West Fairmount Park. And Bill number 161111, entitled an ordinance amending Chapter 900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Professions to add a new Section 9903 entitled Conversion Therapy, adding definitions and prohibiting the practice of conversion therapy by mental health providers on patients under 18 years of age. And Bill number 170470, entitled an ordinance amending Title III of the Philadelphia Code entitled Air Management Code by amending Chapter 3200 thereof entitled Prohibited Conduct to add a new section prohibiting the cutting of rubber tires by any person, all under certain terms and conditions.
Okay. These bills haven't been read on two separate days. The question is for each bill now, shall the bill pass finally? The clerk shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member, Councilman O? Yeah.
I would have an objection to bill number 170206.
1702, sorry. Thank you.
170206.
You want that to be taken off the?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, it will be taken off the consent agenda. and placed on the regular final passage. Thank you. Let me start again. These bills have been read on 2 separate days. The question for each bill now is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker shall call the roll, and upon being called, each council member shall vote aye on each of the bills, nay on each of the bills, or indicate those bills for which the member is voting aye and those bills for which the member is voting nay. Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Cunha Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye on all bills. Majority of all members having voted in the affirmative for each of the bills, with the exception of one that was taken off. The bills on the consent agenda are passed. We will now move to our regular passage calendar. And Mr. Decker, I believe the title of 170206.
An ordinance authorizing and approving the execution and delivery of a service agreement between the City of Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development relating to the financing of the City of Philadelphia's rebuild program. Approving the issuance by the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development of bonds, notes, or other evidences of indebtedness in one or more series to finance or refinance such program, and authorizing and approving the obligation of the City of Philadelphia to pay in full, when due, the service fee and other amounts payable under the service agreement.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. First, let me thank you and all of council, the council members, for the great work that you've done. It's been a very tough situation, not because people don't want to do a really great service for our city. I appreciate the leadership that each council person has exercised in their own regards, bringing the people involved together, the unions with the MOUs, trying to do the pre-apprentice, the mayor, and all the efforts that were exercised. But the history of Philadelphia is much like, well, it's really one that I think, personally, has been very much lacking in what we all agree, that opportunity should be based on merit and open for everyone. It reminds me of, quite frankly, Domino's Pizza. They say, we'll get you your pizza in 30 minutes or it's free. They were responding to the fact that the consumers did not believe that they would get their pizza within 30 minutes. And I think city government, whether it's our fault or not, we're at the point where we need to make some guarantees to the people that we're going to get this done. Everything that we have said that we're going to do, we're going to do. And I appreciate the opportunity to work on this amendment, on the ordinance that we have discussed. Last week I introduced an ordinance to amend the code so all contracts that have an equal opportunity plan will be subject to review by City Council to ensure that the participants are meeting the goals that they have set out, that they have agreed to, and if not, that they shall not be paid. I have introduced a bill to amend the code regarding OEO to give it more powers. I do have an amendment. I'm not introducing it today because I understand that we all have to review the amendment. We all have to look at the various other ideas, and we'll have the summer to work on it. But I have distributed electronically last week I've distributed it in a printed version to each council member today. The issue, as we all know, and you certainly under your leadership have said many times, this issue is not going away. We're going to work on this issue, and I thank all the community leaders who have pressed to ensure that we are doing what we need to do for the people of our city. However, despite all the work and everything, I am not going to vote favorably for this bill because of the lack of the enforcement clause. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. There are no other speeches on this. This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Toppenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 16, the nays are 1. The majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 170162.
An ordinance amending section 14513 of the Philadelphia Code entitled TOD Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District and section 14702 entitled Floor Area and Height Bonuses, all to revise requirements relating to the Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Gunnar Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in the affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution honoring and recognizing Amalgam Comics and Coffee House and its founder, Ariel Johnson, for receiving the 2017 Night Cities Challenge Award, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the City Council Committee on Education to hold hearings on early child care providers and best practices issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution urging the United States Congress to pass H.R. 2655 titled Small Business Innovation Protection Act of 2017, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
I move for a huge adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. And all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling upon the Congress of the United States to direct Amtrak to comply with H.R. 4838 and immediately rename the 30th Street Station as the William H. Gray III 30th Street Station, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you. I thank all the council for their support of this, those who sponsored and all those who signed, and I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the philanthropy of Julius Dr. J. Irving and recognizing his outstanding accomplishments as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the Philadelphia Music Alliance for its promotion of the city's unique and outstanding musical legacy and declaring the Walk of Fame a Philadelphia landmark, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling on the Prime Flight Aviation Services and Prospect Airport Services to negotiate in good faith to form a collective bargaining agreement with their Philadelphia employees as represented by Service Employees International Union Local 32BJ, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution calling on the Pennsylvania State Legislature to pass pending legislation to ensure adequate funding for the Department of Agriculture's Bureau of Dog Law Enforcement, which helps to protect the health and well-being of dogs that are bred and sold in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair one more time recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution also naming South Broad Street between Federal Street and Wharton Street, Anna Sabati Verna Way, in honor of Council President Anna C. Verna's lifetime of service to the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing, congratulating, and honoring the Frankfort High School Pioneers baseball team on winning the 2017 Philadelphia City Championship and the 2017 Public League Championship, introduced by Councilwoman Cherelle Sanchez.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Cherelle Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing June 23, 2017 as Olympic Day in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution supporting the Trust for Public Lands 10-minute walk to a park campaign, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution commending the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia's Research Department for its important analysis of the effects of the Community Reinvestment Act on the mortgage market in the aftermath of the Great Recession, and urging the city's Department of Planning and Development to identify potential solutions to recent federal policy changes that have resulted in more Philadelphia neighborhoods becoming CRA ineligible, leading to CRA-regulated lenders decreasing their mortgage lending in these neighborhoods, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the substantial contributions of Amy Laura Khan and the Garden Justice Legal Initiative she founded to the city of Philadelphia, as well as her dedication to the empowerment of communities through community control of land, sustainable and equitable urban gardening and farming, and the pursuit of environmental justice, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I just wanted to make a short and brief but heartfelt note for the recipient of this resolution, Amy Laura Khan, who I believe is here today, and if she could just stand up so we can thank her. Many of us, and I just want to thank my co-sponsors on this, especially Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sanchez, but also council members Johnson, Parker, Green, and Clark, all of us whom have worked with Amy Laura on a host of issues, but she's been a passionate advocate over at the Public Interest Law Center, where she has helped transform law and policy that applies especially to urban gardening, which is her passion. She started the Garden Justice Legal Initiative at Pillcop. It's tackling the fact that we have 40,000 vacant lots in the city of Philadelphia, and we're trying desperately with communities who've been long marginalized and have limited access to fresh and healthy food to figure out ways in which we can create innovative, empowering ways to use those approaches and to especially bring together communities and build them up as advocates. She does not, though she may leave us in Philadelphia, she leaves behind the legacy of her work, which includes great organizations like Soil Generation, like the Food Policy Advisory Council, and many other aspects, but we'll be remembering her and wishing her luck on her way. So with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution expressing sincere gratitude to the United States senators who are standing in opposition to legislation that would strip health care from millions of Americans and hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians, and calling upon these senators to use every means at their disposal to prevent its passage, including withholding consent for any waiver of rules and using the process of filibuster by amendment, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. Today, this afternoon, a dozen members of the Pennsylvania Health Access Council will be starting a 24-hour vigil to talk about healthcare in America. And at this time, there's a lot that we talk about in terms of what divides us and how we are so different. But there is one thing that we're all united on. We all get sick. We all know somebody who has experienced a medical emergency, an overwhelming situation which is not expected, and at many times we do not feel like we can handle. Our loved ones and our neighbors and our coworkers get sick, and when we get sick, we need to go to the doctor, we need medicine, and we need care. And for the last 8 years, we've been broadening access to make sure more and more people can be seen, to get care, and to get better. And that's not to say that everyone has what they need right now, or that everyone can afford what they need. But without a doubt, we have a long way to go to make sure that the human right to health care is a reality. We don't have a universal health care system, and I think we need one. But what we won't do right now is allow health care to be stripped away from 23 million Americans, or have health care taken away from over 350,000 Pennsylvanians. We can't return to days when pre-existing conditions made millions of us uninsurable or untreatable. The proposed cuts to Medicaid in Philadelphia alone would impact more than 150,000 people who have received health care through Medicaid expansion, including children, poor adults, adults living with disabilities, nursing home residents, 50% of all births. I'm a mom with 2 children who are teetering on the edge of adulthood. It's hard to look them in the eye and tell them that this country is going to take care of them, especially when all of this is wrapped up in a massive tax cut for the wealthiest of Americans. HCA will not only affect the lives of poor families, middle-class families, will also see enormous changes to basic guarantees. And the pre-existing conditions under AHCA, including having acne, being pregnant, having a C-section, being a victim of rape or sexual assault, just to name a few, would eliminate so many of us in this room today from having access to the fullest health care that we can have. We all have a responsibility to care for one another, and that's why I'm proud to ask for council to join with activists all across our city and country to call on the United States Senate to stop this bill from moving forward. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. And the chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
I'd like to be recorded as voting no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let the record reflect that, and let the record also reflect Councilman Taubenberger
That is correct.
is voting nay.
No.
Thank you. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing June as Immigrant Heritage Month in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Mr. Jim Gardner for his hard work and dedication serving the people of Philadelphia over the past 41 years as a reporter and news anchor, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Aging to hold hearings regarding the benefits of both companion animals for the elderly, along with the Pennsylvania Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, 150 years of service towards creating a positive atmosphere for companion animals and the elderly, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring and recognizing Captain Maximilian Clark for his continued service in the United States for over 20 years and his appointment as the commanding officer of the USS Mesa Verde, introduced by Councilman Taubenberger.
Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution initiating action to continue the Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise Neighborhood Improvement District beyond its termination date in the area bounded generally by the north side of Allegheny Avenue, the west side of Memphis Street between Allegheny Avenue and East Westmoreland Street, the south side of East Westmoreland Street, the property line of 3300 Agate Street, and the backup properties facing west along the east side of Tulip Street between Westmoreland and Ontario Streets, the south side of Ontario Street, the west side of Tulip Street between Ontario and Tioga Streets, the north side of Tioga Street, the backup properties facing on the east side of Tulip Street between Tioga and Venango Streets, the backup properties facing south along the north side of Venango Street, including the property located at 2301 through 07 East Venango Street, and the backup properties facing east along the west side of Amber Street, as well as the properties located at 2066 through 80 East Tioga Street and 2082 East Tioga Street, and for which Port Richmond Industrial Development Enterprise, Inc., a Pennsylvania nonprofit corporation, serves as the Neighborhood Improvement District Management Association for the district. Introduced by Councilwoman Bass on behalf of Councilman Squilla.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Whitman urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 522 through 526 Cantrell Street, introduced by Councilwoman Bass on behalf of Councilman Squilla.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And resolution number 170414, entitled a resolution approving the appointment of Michael Carroll to the board of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, introduced by Councilman Johnson on behalf of Council President Clark.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Mr. Decker, don't we have special business we have to take up? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm just playing. I'm sorry. I'm just playing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's been a lot. No, it's been a long session. I'm sorry. Any speeches on behalf of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Very, very, very briefly, but something that's of great importance. I have sent a letter to each of my colleagues inviting them to be at the unveiling of Sister Cities Park, where the plaque for, actually as a fountain, will be dedicated to the sister city relationship of Frankfurt am Main, Germany. And we will be joined there by Mayor Feldman of Frankfurt, Germany, as well as the president of their city council. We found that out yesterday morning. That would be Council Member Sigler, who is the Speaker of the Frankfurt Parliament, and they call it a parliament. And the fact of the matter is, it'll be a great celebration, and it's at 5:30 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 27th. My colleagues are all heartily welcome. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. No, okay. On behalf of the majority, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. As part of my summer reading, I am going to be reading this new report called Calvert Diversity, Examining the Cracks in the Ceiling. And it's relevant for me because it looks at 100 companies around the country, and it examines, based on a number of metrics, how well they are doing on the favorite phrase, many of us call it the broken record, diversity and inclusion. Nationally, this particular outfit is looking at how well we are doing as a country when it comes to diversity and inclusion. The good news for us as a legislative body this session, I believe, is that we were focused like laser beams, we were diligent, we were resourceful, we looked to past successes around diversity and inclusion, and we looked at major failures with regards to some of our public service projects on this issue. In that spirit, I want to first commend Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, because she has set a new paradigm in how we can get this right when we work with the private sector to make a difference in neighborhoods. I join my colleagues who've saluted her repeatedly, and I want to go on the record again today, saluting both Councilwoman Blackwell and her tech guru, John Christmas, in crafting a new partnership that I am optimistic will make a huge difference for that section of West Philadelphia. Further, I state that diversity and inclusion have always been at the core of the Rebuild Initiative. I want to applaud the significant steps that were exhibited by the administration while we took a laser beam focus on workforce diversity and inclusion to move closer to ensuring that labor unions reflect more closely the demographics of our city. There's no doubt that we have talked about this ad nauseum, but we, this legislative body, are of the value, we share the value that every Philadelphian deserves a shot at the economic dollars and access coming from the Rebuild initiatives. Families, especially minorities and women, all taxpayers who use all of our public facilities, our businesses, including the MBE and WBEs, deserve to be included in this unprecedented pipeline of opportunity. Diversity is not an expectation, it's a requirement. The Rebuild Initiative is our opportunity to get it done and get it done right. And as Councilwoman Blackwell and I discussed briefly here this morning, we're not there yet. It's certainly not perfect, but we're closer to changing the song about diversity and inclusion. Yes, we've been criticized, or I've been criticized that it's a broken record. I'm okay with that. Because if we don't keep raising the issue, then we ultimately, we get measured not on what we say, we get measured on what we do. And folks are going to look closely to see how well we've done with ensuring that Rebuild indeed captures the core values of diversity and inclusion. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
So I really wish Rochelle Bilal and Emmanuel Bussey were still here. I want to thank them, first of all, for their advocacy. Sometimes pressure in the right direction moves the needle in the right direction. But I want to explain in part that we didn't just wake up and realize the word diversity. This body has been a champion for diversity since the days of the late Lucian Blackwell with 17,500. You were probably a staffer back then when they found out that less than 0.5% went to minorities and females in this city's contracting. And then former Mayor Wilson Good took the bull by the horns and actually started moving the needle in the right direction with individuals from MBEC to do that. I happen to be one of those successive directors that got a chance to see how the sausage was made, or how the sausage wasn't made in some cases. I stand before my colleagues today, and I've coined the phrase that Councilman Green uses, having a Maynard moment. I really like that. That's a good one. I saw a lot of Maynard moments in this body, whether it was Councilwoman Blackwell with what she was able to do with University City, whether it was Cherelle Parker, who I thought was going to cry in the mayor's office. Oops, was I supposed to say that? She was passionate about getting stuff done. She was heated about it. I saw you, Mr. President, you stand up there stoically sometimes, but you found your voice in a lot of rooms that nobody is ever going to know about, nor should they, making this document that we see here. I want to tell the advocates there is no such thing as a magic wand to make participation. I'm going to say it again. All of the documents in the world, you could put the whereases, therefores in it, unless you put boots on the ground, And as I think my colleague Wilson Good said one time about debarring some people who don't do it right, you're not going to get respect. If we don't stand, and those advocates have a role to play. If you come up on a site and it's not right, tell us. We'll tell the monitoring organization that you fought to get included in this bill to go out and shut it down. And so for people to say that there aren't triggers and provisos and things in here to do it, well, there are. I'm reading page 34 when it talks about the compliance monitoring determined for each contract for rebuild within 25% of the total project labor is completed, we take a look. At the 25% when the subcontracting happens, we take a look. So we have these opportunities within this legislation right now. If we look at compliances and penalties and incentives, that's on page 36. Now, is it a silver bullet? Is it the total magic wand? No. But what I found to be true, and I actually did meet Maynard Jackson of Atlanta, it's not what you have in the contract. It is the will of good people to make it so. So we have to go on these construction sites. We have to count heads. We have to make sure those numbers add up. And you have put these provisions in this contract so that we do have triggers. And I want my colleagues to know I'm proud of it. Even you, David O. I'm very proud of you, my Republican friend. But each of you have added your voice to not a perfect document, but a good document. And the perfect shouldn't be the enemy of the good. And this isn't the last round because we passed this. This is the first salvo. We have to put our hard hats and boots on and get out there and make sure that this is real. And so, you know, you're not going to get away with just passing a bill. Now you have to make it so. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank my colleagues in Council, one, for allowing me to introduce the resolution last week calling on the School Reform Commission to not adopt a contract that was going to segregate disabled youth into a new proposal with a new contractor that we did not really know much about. Based on the work of this council, the School Reform Commission not once but twice has postponed a vote on that contract, has made changes to that proposal. Myself and other members of this body will be meeting hopefully with the school district in the next week or two prior to the July 6th vote to have additional conversations and discussions regarding that contract. I want to thank Councilwomen Gim, Brown, Blackwell, Parker, and O for being vigilant and reaching out and inquiring about what's going on with that proposal, and thank you for your advocacy. As I close, I think some of the council members had similar thoughts. I was thinking about Councilman Jones' comments, and I was actually going to make similar comments, and I think it's unfortunate that some people have the perspective that there's no enforcement in the rebuild initiative and contract. If you read parts of the contract, it talks about enforcement. One, we will have a third-party monitor that will report back to the administration and district council members that will provide real-time diversity and inclusion monitoring, so that way we know what's going on those contracts. And then more importantly, and I read from the legislation, grant agreements will provide provisions related to failure to achieve workforce diversity commitments, and will require that the agreements between project users and contractors allow the project users to terminate agreements if those commitments are not being met. In addition, other terms may be required, such as liquidated damages. So my perspective in voting and supporting rebuild is that we do have enforcement in this legislation that we can use, and also not only do we have enforcement to cancel contracts, we also have the ability for district council members to get real-time information about what's going on these rebuild projects in their districts, so that way we can use the enforcement triggers that we may need to support diversity in this initiative. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to remind everybody that today's our last session and that welcome down to Spruce Harbor Park from 6 to 8 for an event for any members of council and staff. Happy to celebrate the end of this session, if it's over by then, depending on the speeches. So we'll see how it goes. Enjoy your day.
That's funny. Thanks, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I have three announcements. Two are brief, one is a little longer. But today I was informed that we're losing two of our great reporters from the Philadelphia Inquirer. They're being assigned to another beat, Julia Taruso and Tricia Nadolny. And I wanted, on behalf of council administration, there's Tricia over there, I want to thank you for reporting accurately day to day and wish you all well in your new assignment at the Inquirer. So thank you for your service here. Thanks. And sadly, today is also the last day for two of the people in my office, two of my associates, who are moving on and to what they believe are greener pastures. And one is Rachel Pritzker, who will be leaving my office and entertaining the building business specializing in affordable housing. And we all wish her well. Rachel, good luck to you. And David Tuzio is leaving us to move to Connecticut due to his girlfriend's residency. And hopefully he'll be back after that residency, though. I'm praying for that. So we wish you well, David, and you will be missed. So the third piece of business, a little longer. Many people have asked me in the last week, so what happened with the Inquirer building? So I figured I would just share with you from my perspective as what happened. So first I wanted to thank this council, the administration, and the seller, Bart Blatstein, for everyone's cooperation in making the purchase of this building financially better for the city of Philadelphia. And Council President, thank you for your support. Your support, I really appreciate it. Majority Leader Councilman Heenan, thank you for your support. We were in that room, if you remember, with a round table negotiating with Rob DeBoe, you and I, and the seller of the property. And I appreciate all your help on that. Also, I want to thank Hal Fishlander, right over there, who has a new title called Judge, because he actually coordinated a lot of this negotiation that went on and put the points out, and you did a great job. Thank you.
Right.
So I just thought I'd give you the back. I know the reporters probably want to hear the backbone of the deal, but this was the original transaction. It was $290 million, $260 million in the cost of the building. The building was $49 million. The rest was construction, architectural, and $30 million in furniture and fixtures for a total of $290. We were going to lease the building for 8 years at an interest rate of 3.8%, and then in the 9th year, we'd have to go into the market and finance the building. And the issue that we discussed is, why should the city of Philadelphia take the interest rate risk 8 years from now when we're in a market? In the last 50 years, interest rates have been from 3.5 to 21%. Why should we take that risk? So our goal was to try to figure out how to lock in the rate and not have the risk. The original estimates of the cost that we'd have to pay if we financed it in 8 or 9 years were ranging from $475 to $600 million, depending on the interest rate at that time. So we requested of the seller the following. One, a 19-year fixed rate loan, amortizing, an interest rate of 3.75, a loan that would be fully assumable, this is the most important piece, assumable to us when we're ready to buy it in years 8 and 9 at no cost to the city, and no prepayment penalty in years 8 and 9 in case we wanted to do tax-exempt financing. But to make a long story short, after several friendly back and forth negotiations, and I use that term loosely, the seller delivered to us a commitment to provide a 19-year fixed rate loan, an interest rate of 3.75, the ability to assume the loan in years 8 and 9 at no cost to the city, but he could not deliver no prepayment penalty. So instead of that, we agreed and negotiated on a $10 million reduction in the price as follows: $7.5 million when we close, or in the beginning, and $2.5 million in 5 years, which we're requesting be escrowed at closing. In summary, the original proposal would have cost us $475 to $600 based on interest rates and what we're projecting. This new agreement will cost us about $353 million. It's a savings of the city of 122 to anywhere to 247 million, depending on rates. And I want to thank Rob DeBoe, Ann Fedulin, and the seller, Bart Blasting, because this would not have happened if Bart wasn't cooperative in this transaction. So thank you, Council President. I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish our colleague, Councilman Jones, were still in the room. And if he is near and listening, I want him to know that my husband and close friends would agree to disagree with him, because my passion and commitment for an issue has been couched as many things, but teary-eyed has never been one of them. So with that in mind, I also want to state for the record, Mr. President, that in December, this council unanimously passed a resolution regarding what it believed was a blueprint that will help us outline all of the elements that we had hoped would be included in this overall concept that we were working on called Rebuild. I have been unapologetic from the very beginning until the end when communicating with my colleagues, the administration, along with the building trades about the need and desire to diversify the building trades, and that Rebuild would be used as the tool to do it. I think all of the work of our colleagues, and I think this is a victory for all of us, because we raised the questions, we were consistent, and I think this is a very historic moment for the city of Philadelphia, because despite what anyone can historically acknowledge regarding large city works projects, we have never systemically institutionalized a pathway to the building trades the way we have done with what we've outlined in Rebuild. I agree that it is not perfect. If you show me a piece of legislation that's ever been passed, it'll be in the next phase in our world. But I think we will continue building. I think if we find anything that is not working, that needs to be improved, we will do it. But I do want to state for the record one thing that I want to commend my colleagues for, since we are sort of talking about difficulties and challenges that were associated with negotiations. I am glad that it was members, the majority of members of this body, that made the ultimate decision that they did not want to sign off on contracts, because that was not our job. That we wanted to make sure that we created an environment that allowed our people to participate in the process and gave large, medium, and small businesses, particularly African Americans and people of color, the ability to compete, but that we did not need to act as if we needed a formal role in that process. If it is not working now, I will look as we move forward to the gentleman I consider to be the guru, who is our former councilman, Wilson Good, and the other mechanisms that we put together, and that if someone is not following the rules and they are not meeting the numbers, or we do not think we are diversifying the trades, we should go back and revisit what we've done. But for now, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, thank you for your leadership and what you've done to put it to work. We passed the resolution in December, but you created a model before then. And now in the private sector, because this was not just about the trades and city work, this was, if we did it right, was to be a vehicle that we could say to the private sector, with all of the work that's being done in neighborhoods across the city of Philadelphia, that we want African Americans and other people of color participating in work that's being done in their neighborhoods too. So I want to thank you all for that. Thank you for your support, and look forward to working with you to improve this in the future. And again, I want to say to my colleague, Councilman Jones, my husband has never mistaken my passion for being teary-eyed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kim.
Thank you very much, Council President, and I just want to echo the feelings of all my other council members about the importance of this year, the need to move ahead, and the passionate work that so many advocates had in shaping the outcomes that we saw through the legislation that we were able to move. I did want to make a brief comment about advances that we've also seen at the school district level. thanks to your work, Council President, thanks to the work of the administration and to the mayor's office, and especially to our own Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, we were able to settle a contract that will finally end the bitter dispute between the Philadelphia Teachers Union, its teachers, its professional staff, the School Reform Commission, and really put a major investment forward in our schools. We had to settle the contract. It impacted tens of thousands of teachers. That had nothing to do with, I think one individual may have described it as popping magnums of champagne. That is absolutely not what that was. When thousands of teachers forego tens of thousands of dollars in raises for years and still continue to show up every day to educate our kids, that is not about luxury, that's not about excessiveness, that is exactly what they deserve and need. And in particular, 1 year ago this year, there were 2,500 kids headed into summer school because they didn't have a full-time teacher in the classroom for more than 2/3 of the year. And it was in part because of abuses like that this contract became such an important issue. But it's more than just about a teacher's contract settling. It's also that there's been major investments made around immigrant youth and services. For the first time, we're starting to allocate counselors and other support services to high schools based on need and not just on head count of students there. So I want to thank all members of council, especially Councilwoman Blackwell as head of the Education Committee, and all my other fellow members who've been active, engaged, passionate, and determined to see some real investments go to our young people as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Before I recognize Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, just would like to say briefly, as I say pretty much every year, and I get more and more enthusiastic about it, that this is the best group of council people that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. I used to look around the room and see if it was other council members before I would say that. He's still here. Yeah. He just has a different office, No, but seriously, folks, I just want to say that I really appreciate having the opportunity to serve with you all and servicing the citizens of the city of Philadelphia. We all do good work, and we do good work when we work together. And I look forward to the upcoming agenda in terms of continuing to deal with our neighborhoods. Yes, there are challenges, but we're responsible for working to deal with those challenges. And I think going to battle with this group, there's no other group that I'd rather go to battle with. All aspects of it, be it education, be it employment, be it business, making a more business-friendly environment, all the things that we need to do. So guys, I just want to thank you again for all your great work. Thank you for your hard work, and again, it's a pleasure for you all to give me an opportunity to serve in this capacity. So, thank you. So with that, I will recognize Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
We thank you, Mr. President, and I move that the Thursday City Council sessions stand adjourned until Thursday, September 14th, 2017 at 10 a.m. Thank you, Mr. President.
Been moving probably second. All those in favor? Those opposed? Ayes have it. Council will stand adjourned until September 14, 2017, 10 a.m. Thank you very much.